All right, what is going on, Notre Dame fans? I'm Tyler Horka. That's Jack Sobel. We've got our beanies on because it's about 30 degrees, I want to say. It's cold. You can see the snow in the background. It is about winter time in South Bend, Indiana. I think the first day of winter is technically in a few days, but the show goes on here in South Bend because we just watched a Notre Dame football practice for the first time in a while. We actually don't get to see practice in season, but with the Sun Bowl coming up on December 29th, Notre Dame has opened a few practices for us to see, and kudos to them because we got to see some pretty cool things, including, I would say this video should probably start with CJ Carr, the incoming freshman quarterback. Kind of a weird quirk in the NCAA rules where he hasn't even signed his national letter of intent. He will do that tomorrow, which is Wednesday, December 20th, today. He was throwing practices just like he's been here all along, and that was kind of the vibe that I got, Jack, was if you were just plopped into the Irish Athletic Center and you didn't know who number 17 in Notre Dame red quarterback jersey was, you'd say this guy's been here all along. This is, I think you could still count on one hand how many practices CJ Carr has had with this Notre Dame team. What did you kind of see from him today?
Yeah, I saw what you saw. He looked like he'd been there before. He was spinning it. We can't glean a lot from the warm-ups and 3 individual periods, but he didn't look out of place at all. Yeah. He looked like throwing a quick release. He looked pretty good, I thought.
All right, I think you've got some notes out here. Yeah. One-on-ones, is that what you've got? Is that or general?
I do have one-on-ones.
Okay.
Also general. One general update before we get into the bulk of this video. Thomas Harper, the graduate nickelback, was not at practice. We'll wait for an official announcement, but we don't expect him to play in the Sun Bowl. A couple other defensive personnel notes. A couple of young defensive linemen, Tyson Ford, Armel Mukam, Devin Houston in scout team jerseys. Freshman defensive lineman Brendan Vernon was in the pit. Looks like he's dealing with some sort of injury. And yeah, that's the defensive personnel updates that I saw.
Let's harp on Harper for a moment here. What does that do to the Notre Dame defense? I mean, this guy was the solid starter at nickel pretty much all season. If Clarence Lewis is the option there for Notre Dame going forward, Jordan Faison made him look a little bit silly in a one-on-one rep. We'll get to that. Just a wide-open touchdown for Faison. But you anticipate Lewis starting at nickel in the Sun Bowl?
I do. I saw some individual cornerback drills. They did. Notre Dame did like a two-man game, passing off coverage on the side. Jaden Mickey was a second outside corner out there. Christian Gray got a little bit of work in individual drills in the slot. Might be something to look out for. I don't anticipate him sticking there long term, but maybe they have a shortage of slot cornerbacks in this game potentially with Thomas Harper. Again, we expect not to play, and then Micah Bell, third team. Chance Tucker had a nice pass breakups and one-on-ones, which we'll get to in a sec on the outsides. That's how the cornerback room is shaping up for the Sun Bowl.
Yeah, obviously no Harper, no Cam Hart either. He opted out and is headed to the NFL draft. So one-on-ones, I mentioned the Jordan Faison touchdown where he got the best of Clarence Lewis. The other one that stuck out to me before we get to some of the silly offensive linemen on defensive linemen ones, Jeremiah Love ran a little out and up. I mean,
that's what I said.
I put on Twitter it was a wheel route. It wasn't a wheel route. It was more of an out and up running it because these guys were starting inside the 5-yard line. So for him to kind of go out and then get the separation that he needed on the back of the goal line there, very impressive against somebody that we think of as a really good athlete in Jalen Sneed playing defense on that one. So there are the two that stuck out to me. I think Jaden Mickey had an interception as well. That's probably the third. What about you? What'd you see?
Yeah, Jaden Mickey did have an interception. It was a really nice play going against freshman wide receiver Jaden Greathouse. Tight coverage, throw came in. I'm not sure exactly how Mickey came down with the ball, but he did. And then Mickey, in practice, by the way, puts the ball on the ground, pretends to go to sleep with the ball as a pillow. We've seen that celebration in the NFL before. I think maybe in college football a couple times. Mickey is nothing if not entertaining to watch practice. I will give him that. He looked good. Chance Tucker with a nice pass breakup. Just going through my notes. Drake Bowen, nice, good defense on Jadarian Price, running a little out route from the backfield. Yeah. Preston Zinter, I saw a good rep, the freshman linebacker of defense. That's about all the real notes, and then we have some offensive linemen going against defensive linemen, pass catching drills. We had Tyson Ford giving up a slant to Ty Chan. We had Devin Houston, nice jam at the line of scrimmage on Joe Otting, a couple freshman linemen, and then Chris Tarek, a freshman lineman, ran a surprisingly well-executed goal line fade against Armel Mukum, the defensive lineman. Caught the ball, big celebration there in the end zone, and that was one of the last reps.
Big celebration by everybody. I mean, the entire offense came over and celebrated with him. I believe that was the last one, and it made the defense run a gasser, coaches included. Mike Mickens just had a big old smile on his face. He said, "What are you going to do about Chris Tarek looking like Chris Tyree? There's not much you can do about that. I'm going to go run my gasser." So speaking of Mike Mickens and maybe some of these other coaches, I will transition to a note about the offense. I was watching primarily the offense. Jack was watching the defense. New wide receivers coach Mike Brown was a very active participant, and this is he's been around for 2 weeks now. I can't remember the exact timing because so much craziness has happened, but this is the first glimpse that we got to see of him actually coaching a Notre Dame practice, and he was really in the ear of Jaden Thomas for a lot of it, so I thought that was kind of cool to see him just kind of gravitate to one of those natural veteran leaders who's been here for a little bit. And then we just saw some different wide receiver drills than we've seen from Chancey Stuckey, obviously the Notre Dame wide receivers coach for the last 2 seasons. It seemed like Mike Brown was focusing more on agility and foot speed and footwork and those types of things. Not to say Chancey Stuckey wasn't doing that, but Chancey Stuckey was more technical get-off and kind of those things. And the get-off is important, I get it, but there is so much more to a route and catching a football and getting to the point of catching a football than just getting off the line. So I thought it was it was kind of cool to see the differences from Mike Brown, Chancey Stuckey being here the last 2 years. That was kind of the biggest thing that I noticed. We only got to see a couple periods of these individual drills. Watching the defense was kind of something that stood out to you.
Honestly, I think we kind of covered it with the defense. Like I said, Christian Gray getting some work in the slot. With the coaching, Max Bulla, the graduate assistant, again, he's from the practices we've seen, he's pretty much the de facto linebackers coach, with Al Gilden taking more of a CEO role on the defense as the coordinator. He's a very active coach. He's getting on the young guys, the veterans. I think it's probably a matter of time, and this isn't just a one practice observation. This is a whole fall camp and then this practice observation. I think it's probably just a matter of time before he gets a full-time assistant job somewhere.
All right, so that's pretty much it. Like we said, it was a short opportunity to watch practice. I will say with those wide receivers that I was mentioning earlier, there were a couple guys in walk-on scout team that I couldn't tell who these guys were. They were wearing white jerseys and running with the wide receivers. That just kind of shows you how low those numbers are. That they need bodies there. But if you're looking across the board, you're going to see Jaden Thomas, Jaden Greathouse, Jordan Faison probably run out there first. Deion Colsey's going to play a lot. I think KK Smith making his debut is going to play a lot, and even Matt Salerno as well. So if you're looking for 6 core guys, those are the ones. Again, 4 wide receivers left via the transfer portal in the last month or so. So it's going to be interesting from that standpoint. The offensive line, I guess I will note there, it was Tosh Baker who was getting most of the reps with the ones at right tackle. Marcus Freeman told us within the last week that Charles Jagasaw is going to be the left tackle. Then on the interior, Pat Coogan's been the left guard for this team all season. Ashton Craig is going to be filling in for Zeke Correll, who went to NC State at center. And then Billy Strouth will be making his 3rd start, I believe it is, at right guard. So there's your offensive line playing in front of Steve Angeli in the Sun Bowl. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a new look. And I guess the last thing, Jack, to me it seemed like with all these transfer portal and opt-outs for the NFL, all of those things happening, it seemed like a lighter practice today. It didn't seem like as many bodies in there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they're down on numbers, but that's really the reality of college football in 2023.
All right. Well, my hand is freezing. I don't know if you can tell. I'm trying to wiggle my fingers. I wish I brought some gloves. We're going to end this just shy of 10 minutes, but we appreciate you watching this report. We'll have some other stuff on the YouTube channel leading into the game, the Sun Bowl on December 29th, and a lot of YouTube stuff covering National Signing Day with Notre Dame expected to sign a fringe top 10 class. I think it's sitting somewhere around there, maybe just outside the top 10 at number 11 right now. But again, go to the YouTube channel, go to blueandgold.com for all your coverage of National Signing Day and the Sun Bowl.